When we think of blue states, we often think of higher wages, higher taxes, cultural dominance, greater social equality and acceptance, and the educated elites. It's surprising that out of the top 10 states with the most income inequality in America, only 5 of them are Democratic strongholds. In this video, we're counting down the top 5 blue states with the highest income inequality and showing you side by side where and how the haves and have-nots really live. Can you guess which states are on this list and in which order? Tune in until the end to find out if you're right. State number 5, Illinois. Illinois is the toughest state for social mobility in the Midwest. Its economy revolves around Chicago, where thriving industries like finance, technology, healthcare, and transportation and logistics generate opportunities and enormous wealth potential, but mainly for those with the right skills, degrees, and connections. The median income in Illinois is about $83,306. In neighborhoods like the Gold Coast and Lincoln Park, old money lingers in historic mansions and upscale townhouses and single-family homes. But just a short drive away, on the south and west sides of Chicago, many minority neighborhoods face a very different reality where median household incomes fall below $30,000. According to the Illinois Policy Institute, poverty in some of these communities are as high as 51%. Now imagine what life would be like if half the people in our neighborhood lived in poverty. It would touch every part of our daily lives, from the vigilance we must have when we're outside in our neighborhoods, to the condition of our local schools, libraries, and public spaces, to the likelihood of being a victim of a crime born out of anger or desperation. Imagine the toll this would take on our mental health, physical health, self-concept, and confidence. Out of all states in America, Illinois is reported by Wallet Hub to have the worst racial income inequality. In the Springfield metro area, where the state capital is located, the poverty rate for Black residents was about 40% in 2023 compared to just 8% for whites. That same year, Springfield had the second largest gap in median annual household income between Black and white families. $33,112 versus $80,191. Meanwhile, in Winnetka, an affluent suburb just 20 miles north of Chicago, median household incomes soar well above $250,000, with average incomes around $480,000. It's a predominantly white community with an 88% white population. Statewide, the median household income in Illinois is about $83,306, but numbers like this hide the extremes. Interestingly enough, a state's tax system can either worsen or alleviate the inequality its residents experience, and in Illinois, it does the former. Illinois has what's known as a regressive tax system, where the lowest income earners pay a higher percentage of their income in taxes than those making much more. It ranks among the top 10 states with this kind of tax structure, which, according to the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, only deepens inequality. Across Illinois, former manufacturing hubs like Rockford, Decatur, and Peoria have suffered decades of decline, leaving behind persistent poverty, underfunded schools, and ongoing brain drain. Few states show as clearly as Illinois how inequality and race are still very much intertwined in America. State number 4, California. With the largest economy of any state, California is the world's epicenter of both technology and entertainment, the nation's leading producer of agriculture, and home to 12 of the top 20 universities in the country for social mobility. Yet, it still ranks 4th on this list. In Silicon Valley, household incomes must surpass $250,000 just to live comfortably in the upper middle class. Yet even at those levels, many families are still considered low income because of the region's extreme housing costs driven by high demand. In fact, in 5 northern counties, earning below $110,000 as a single person without dependents is considered low income. Statewide, the median household income is about $91,905, but the gap between California's wealthiest residents and those struggling at the bottom has only been widening. The situation is similar in Southern California. Los Angeles is home to billion-dollar industries like Hollywood, real estate, and international trade, while Orange County's coastal cities such as Newport Beach and Laguna Beach are among the wealthiest zip codes in the nation. Yet within a 50-mile drive, millions of working individuals and families are trying to keep up with the soaring housing and living costs. The wealth is undeniable. California has more billionaires than any other state, a handful of companies worth trillions of dollars, and the largest number of millennial millionaires. But so is the disparity. In downtown Los Angeles, thousands of unhoused people call Skid Row home, which is both frightening and depressing for locals, tourists, and those living on the streets themselves. Across LA County, more than 75,000 people experience homelessness on any given night. Go inland, and in Fresno, the median household income is $62,276, with nearly 1 in 4 residents living in poverty. Agricultural towns like Mendota see poverty rates above 40%, where families rely on seasonal farm work that pays little and offers no stability. Income inequality in California is driven by a combination of factors: the astronomical cost of living and housing, a hyper-competitive job market in industries that pay very well, a growing population of low-wage service workers, and the decades-long disappearance of middle-income jobs in manufacturing and, more recently, in Hollywood. Those who can afford to move to California still do, but its high costs only sharpen the class divide. Now let's head to the opposite side of the country, to the most highly educated state in the nation. State number 3, Massachusetts. Massachusetts is widely recognized as one of the wealthiest states in the country, with a median household income of about $103,533, nearly $20,000 above the national median. Its wealth is concentrated around Boston, fueled by booming tech, finance, and biotech sectors, and supported by the talent and intelligence of institutions like Harvard and MIT. Massachusetts has also long been home to old money families with fortunes rooted in shipping, textiles, and banking since our nation's founding. In wealthy suburbs like Lexington, the place where the American Revolution began, and Wellesley, best known for its top all-women college in the world, multi-generational estates and private clubs symbolize that legacy of inherited wealth. In cities such as Springfield and Fall River, median household incomes fall below half of what we'd find in Boston's suburbs. Springfield averages $47,101, with roughly 30% of residents living in poverty, while Fall River, with its Milltown history, has a poverty rate of about 21%. A recent study ranked Springfield and nearby towns among the worst in the U.S. for air pollution, driven by emissions from local industries like manufacturing and metal plants. At one point in recent history, Springfield was even ranked the #1 asthma capital in America because of how severe the pollution is. In communities with fewer economic resources to address pollution, the adverse effects show up everywhere, from students' ability to learn in school, adults' productivity at work, and the overall health of the community. This is a reminder that inequality isn't just about income and wealth, it's about the environmental costs to society as well. Even though the overall median income across the state has risen in recent years, the steep cost of living doesn't make it seem like residents are better off. Just last month in August, Massachusetts lawmakers proposed a bill to help improve the lives of its lowest-earning residents, aiming to expand cash benefit programs, raise wages, and create state-run initiatives to help families build wealth. According to Local W22 News in Springfield, the bill would also seek to protect workers' rights by enhancing the state attorney general's ability to go after employers who engage in wage theft. Lawmakers are actively trying to close this wealth divide, so that's something worth noting. Let's drive now across state lines, where the divide between the haves and have-nots are even clearer. State number 2, Connecticut. Up next is Connecticut. Despite being one of the smallest states, its median household income is above the national average at $91,665. Connecticut's wealth is most pronounced in the southwestern Gold Coast, in towns like Greenwich, Darien, and Westport, thanks to their proximity to New York City. In 2022, the wealthiest zip code in the state, which includes Old Greenwich, had an average income of $826,000, but drive about 1.5 hours northeast to the inner cities of Hartford, the scene changes dramatically. In Hartford's North End, the two poorest zip codes in the state have average incomes in the $30,000 to $40,000 range. Unfortunately, with low incomes come higher rates of crime. In certain neighborhoods, it's normal to hear gunshots, and not even surprising to hear someone you know has been shot again or has been a victim of a crime. In 2024, an armed neighborhood watch group began patrolling the streets of the North End in an effort to deter crimes. The good news is that in Hartford, the number of homicides this year has dropped compared to prior years, according to city official in late August. In other parts of Connecticut, rural communities are so quiet that rumors spread quickly, such as earlier this year when residents began fearing that a serial killer was targeting women along the eastern part of the state. Police and experts quickly dispelled the rumor. Connecticut ranks second in blue state income inequality because while it ranks low in extreme poverty outside of Hartford, the state has the highest number of millionaires and billionaires per capita, which skews the data. The Gini coefficient measures inequality. The higher the value, the stronger the income inequality. On this map, you can see that most of the state is shaded light blue, meaning there are fewer disparities between the haves and have-nots in those particular regions. The areas shaded in darker blue on the western part of the map show the greatest disparities, which makes sense since they literally border New York and are a quick train ride or drive to New York City. Ray Dalio, the famous and influential billionaire and founder of the world's largest hedge fund, calls one of these areas home. Given that Connecticut is only about 110 miles long from end to end, we can see a full spectrum of economic realities in about a 2 to 2.5 hour drive from waterfront estates to struggling post-industrial towns and ranches on farmland. Before we reveal the state with the most income inequality in America, let's take a detour and turn our attention to Washington, D.C. D.C. isn't technically a state, though many argue it should be since residents pay federal taxes and contribute fully to the U.S. economy. But the income inequality in D.C. is too high to ignore. If it were a state, it would actually rank as the second most unequal blue state in the country, not Connecticut. D.C. has a highly educated workforce and a median household income well above the national average at $111,000. Its economy thrives on government, military, lobbying, law, and consulting if one has the right pedigree or connections. Yet in the city exists some of the starkest economic inequality in the country. In affluent neighborhoods like Georgetown and Capitol Hill, median household incomes exceed $150,000. Tuition at Georgetown University, the alma mater of many politicians like Bill Clinton, costs over $35,000 for a single semester, which is more than $70,000 a year before adding housing, books, and living expenses. Without generous grants and financial aid, this price tag is out of reach for most families in the city, highlighting just how money can provide access to not only a high-quality education, but access to the right people and life-changing opportunities. In 2023, the richest 20% of DC households held more than half of the income of the bottom 80% combined. This translates to slower social mobility and economic opportunity for those at the bottom. The historic neighborhood of Chinatown is disappearing as high costs and the city's preference for corporate development sentiment over community preservation continue to take hold and push residents and small businesses out. With this year's DOGE cuts and layoffs, DC has been struggling to find its footing. The mayor's budget cut proposal includes a $300 million reduction in social services provided to those in need, which significantly impacts the poor. President Trump's recent federal takeover of DC hasn't helped local businesses either, especially restaurants that depend on regular foot traffic. To summarize all of this, DC is a mess and high earners fare much better than those lower on the spectrum. Now back to our original topic. The state with the highest income inequality is none other than New York. The statewide median household income is about $82,095, while in New York City it's slightly lower at $76,577. But given that most of the state's population is concentrated in the city, these figures barely scratch the surface of what inequality looks like here. In Manhattan's Upper East Side, household incomes regularly exceed $165,000, supported by Wall Street salaries, luxury real estate, and global influence. This is the New York most people recognize. Gleaming skyscrapers amidst a concrete jungle, penthouses overlooking Central Park, black cars idling outside corporate headquarters, and the kind of wealth we see in movies and reality shows. Yet just a short subway ride away, the conditions change drastically. In the South Bronx, the median household income is closer to $32,381, and 36.3% of residents live in poverty. This contrast of extreme affluence within sight of deep struggle is what makes New York's inequality so jarring and brutal for those at the bottom. Outside the city in Scarsdale, the median household income is about $250,000, while the average soars to $600,000, and the poverty rate is believed to be just around 2%. Head upstate, however, the story shifts again. In Buffalo and Rochester, poverty rates remain above 25%, and nearly 40% of children are growing up in poverty. These are communities that once thrived on manufacturing but never fully recovered after industries declined, leaving generational hardship in its place. Even New York's middle class feels the pressure. Families earning six-figure incomes in the city often find themselves stretched thin by housing costs, childcare, and taxes that would feel unimaginable in other states. In that sense, inequality here isn't just about the very rich and the very poor. It's about the squeeze on everyone in between, because living in New York City feels worth it to them. In Manhattan, the average rent for a one-bedroom hit about $4,750 in August 2025, while a two-bedroom now costs $6,400 a month. Even families earning six figures often feel broke. That's the reality in a city of more than 8 million residents and the most densely populated region in the country. It's no surprise then that frustration has spilled over into politics. Progressive Assembly member Zohran Mamdani recently won the Democratic nomination for mayor on a platform that includes freezing rents and dramatically expanding affordable housing. His rise shows just how central the cost of living crisis has become in New York. Will he become the city's next mayor? It sure seems like it. Did you correctly guess the 5 blue states with the most income inequality in America? Do you think it'll be possible for us to close this wealth divide? Why or why not? Leave a comment below. If you haven't done so, make sure you're subscribed to State of America.